From Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan, alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Matt, we got a special guest today, and it's not just for you and I because we're native New Yorkers, but this is going to go for every sports fan in the country. Today on the podcast, we've got Brandon Steiner. He is the founder of Steiner Sports, and I got to tell you, he is probably the author of the coolest book name ever. You got to have balls. Scott, Mr. Brandon Steiner, welcome to the podcast. Tell us how a young kid from Brooklyn got into the sports memorabilia business and literally redefined it. You redefined an industry.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's been a great run, mainly because I've had incredible customers and support out there from a lot of people that gave me the faith and the support to do it. I've had a really good marketing career. You know, I've done a lot of managing and marketing of athletes, and those relationships really were one of the things that really enhanced me to do the things I was able to do in the collectible business. You know, I left Steiner 5 years ago, and not easy to leave a company you built and your name, but Collectible Exchange has a really strong indication that could be bigger than Steiner. It's a company that really has, the kind of grip of what a lot of people out there really need. It's a more wide open marketplace where athletes can sell stuff direct to consumer, and then fans that have collected a lot of stuff, because the business isn't new anymore. So if you have cards and collectibles, we have a company called Star Stock and Collectible Exchange that you can actually put your stuff up, or you can bring it in here. We can help you sell it. And, you know, if you're sitting with a lot of collectibles, like a lot of people my age are, it's hard to figure out what to do with it. And we've given them all the solutions to do it. It's been I feel like we're solving a problem. I'm back like in my 20s again. I'm reborn. I found a whole new thing to build that's extremely helpful. I'm going into the Salesman Hall of Fame for doing one thing, not the $60 million of dirt, not the 40 million autographs I've secured, but I'm going to be the one who sold more of the same item twice. I've sold all the items once, and now it's coming back. I'm going to sell it again. I should go in that I want credit for. Like, nobody gets to sell their item twice. As many items I'm going to be selling my stuff, because people are bringing me my stuff back, and it was great stuff that I've created over the years, and now I'm reselling it, and it's, you know, people are flipping out. It's great.
Brandon, I have a question for you. Right, memorabilia is great, but tell me about how you invented the Everything Bagel.
Oh boy. Well, you know, I'm a Brooklyn guy, and, you know, back in the day, I was delivering newspapers, and I used to use the bagels to get people to deliver newspapers. So I was delivering a lot of bagels and milk, and that's how I got all the old ladies and the people in the neighborhood to get the newspaper. And it worked very well. I had a very big paper route. I don't screw around. Even some 10, 12 years old, whatever I had, I was always trying to grow it, make it. You know, I think growth is such an important thing. When people say, Brandon, what's the key to your success? It's just perpetual growth. It's not one thing or another. I'm just perpetually trying to grow at everything I do. So I always ask people, what's your rate of growth? And that would tell me how happy you are. So I'm delivering milk bagels. I go in the store one day, the guy's like, do you want to bake bagels for me? I have a nighttime position open. And I was helping him in the mornings bake bagels. So I stopped baking the bagels at night. I was kind of bored. So I was screwing around with all the seasonings and trying all these different things. And came up with the Everything Bagel. It was one night at the end of the night, all these seasonings were now in the pan. I didn't know what to do with them. So I just threw them on the bagel. And then we came up with the Everything Bagel.
And where was this bagel shop?
What's that?
Where was this bagel shop?
Oh, it was between East 3rd and East 4th Street. And on Kings Highway. You know, I lived at 539 Kings Highway in Flatbush. So my paper route was pretty big. And then I was waking up 4 a.m. to make and bake the bagels, which I learned how to do. I can go into a bagel store right now and make bagels like that. And I can tell you immediately I walk in a bagel store whether it's going to work out for them, whether they understand how to make a bagel. It's a very, very intense. It's one of the most complicated breads you're going to eat if you want to get it right.
So how did you get into the sports memorabilia space to begin with as a young man?
I mean, I'd love to tell you this great story because I've written 3 books and my 4th coming out in a couple months. I wish I had this great purpose, heart moving story, but I was believe it or not, everybody wants the view, but nobody really wants to climb. Like, you may be jealous of what I have.
Amen to that.
You ain't jealous of how I got there. Trust me. And I'm killing myself. When I started Steiner, it was 1980, 87, 88. And I'm like in 94 and I can't get arrested. I'm trying everything, sampling, trying this, trying that. There really wasn't a big sports business. So what people don't realize that my first 5, 6 years in business, I had nothing to do with memorabilia. I was just marketing players. And I mean hundreds and hundreds of appearances a year. One year I did 2,000 appearances in 1 year with an office intern and an office share secretary. I never went home. I was just booking players. There were a lot of grand openings, and I was just coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas on how to use an athlete. And it definitely opened up the door for me to meet a lot of players, but I wasn't making a lot of money. So I was thinking I wanted to buy a car. I was on the train all the time. Couldn't stand the train. I was like, I got to get a car, but I wasn't making enough money. I can't go home and ask my wife for a car, man, to get my own car. I don't have the balls to do it. So I was trying to think how I can make a bunch of money. And the Rangers had just won the Cup in 94. Mark Messier on the cover, the big grin, my favorite moment in sports.
The Messiah.
And I'm thinking, I think I could sell 15,000 of those. The back page of the Post. I go get them reprinted, have them sign them, make a bunch of money, go get my car. It was just a freaking money grab. It took me 3 months to track Messier down. And it was my first guy that I signed to a collectible deal where I put together a whole collection. I mean, obviously, Mark is a great player. It was his sixth Stanley Cup, one of the great players of all time. And he was into it. We're building something. No one was doing hockey collectibles. And I always tell people, like, if someone else is doing it, let them. I'm not interested. I want to do what no one's doing. Because if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. I always tell my players, you know why I want you to do this? They go, why? Because no one else is doing it. If someone else is doing it, why bother? And, the players always look at me crazy, but it works. I had Mariano Rivera come to my office one time. This is when we had the whole memorabilia thing, and he's breaking the save record. So he sits down, he goes, Brandon, I think I need a raise. I'm about to break the record. And I'm like, it's funny you come in and ask me about this because I was going to call you. I'm thinking about giving you a pay cut. He's like, what? I said, here's the thing. Every time a player does something great, they make it a highlight and they want all kinds of money. I want you to lower your price as a thank you for the fans for supporting you to get all these saves. So in support of all these saves, I want to save you money. Our customers tripped out. First of all, he ended up making so much more money. To sign some extra autographs is not that much time. So he had to sign a little more autographs for a little more time. He ended up making 50% more money. So it's like, you got to think out of the box a little bit. And most importantly, you got to have, I always call it, you got to have empathy and compassion for your customer. And you got to have common sense. And if you have empathy, that's putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And if you put yourself in a fan's shoes, and all of a sudden we're coming out with the hottest guy breaking this record and we're lowering the price, can you imagine the reaction? They'd be like, they're like, we love Mariano. I said, you need to move away from being liked and being great to being loved. Because when you love, nobody's leaving you. And my job is to get people to love you, not only for all the saves you get, but for the way you go about your business. And that's really I think it's the telltale sign of getting in unanimously for him. I feel like I was a little part of it.
Well, in thinking outside the box, why don't you tell the audience your brainchild about buying old Yankee Stadium and how you almost turned a bust into a boost?
Well, we'll get into the stupid decisions that I've made. We can go down that path. That's fine. I'm all good. I'm all good. It's interesting. Like when I was doing the deal with the Yankees, which by the way, again, took 2 years. Oh, you did a deal with the Yankees? Wait a minute. 2 years, $250,000 of legal fees, all kinds of complications. It was not a no-brainer, easy peasy. 2 years. And it wasn't like we dabbled with it. It was like 2 years of
Now, back
constant.
then, were you negotiating with George or was it with somebody else there?
Well, I was negotiating pretty much. Randy Levine was really such a key part of this happening, and for all the right reasons, and also working with Montrose, Brian Cashman. George was alive, and I had a relationship with George, so he did bless the deal and was aware of it. And George, nothing left that stadium, so it was a big deal to go into the bowels of Yankee Stadium and get all the stuff they've been saving for years and selling it. So it was a big deal, and George was in the middle of it. And because I had a little relationship with George over the years, he knew who I was, and I was very, very fortunate for him to decide to give me this deal because it was a game and industry changer. It was, so we're signing the deal literally after 2 years. And it's got all kinds of bells, whistles. It was over a $10 million deal, guarantee, and we were in partnership, so it was a minimum of 10 million. And I say, as I'm about to sign, I go one thing here. If we should, because at the time there wasn't a new stadium in sight. And this is why I always tell people, whatever you're doing, always make sure you're thinking, what else, what's next? No matter how good the deal is, whatever it is you're doing, what else, what's next? Because what else times what's next will get you to first to market. But most people are celebrating when they get something really good. I'm thinking, what else, what's next, to take the celebration and make it into a much bigger party. And I go to them, by the way, if we ever move into a new stadium, I got to take the old one down, right? Well, it's too late to put that in a deal, but you have our word, we're going to let you do it. And I need to have some make sure that my product can be in the stadium, because I had a hard time getting my products in the old stadium. I had multiple, it's a few SKUs in one of the stores. And I wanted to have my own store. I wanted to have control over part of a store to put my products in there. So a couple of years later, when they called me up to the office, I was at a game, and they said, Lon and Randy want to see you. And I went up there, and they're like, take a look at this. Like, what's that? He goes, that's a new stadium. Wow, that's unbelievable. I'm good. Am I good taking the old one down immediately? We gave you our word. We're going to work together. The city owns it, so it was kind of a complicated deal to buy the stadium, because we had to buy the stadium from the city and then figure out how to market it, sell it off, and there's union involved and all that. And he shows me this drawing. And the drawing, he goes, look at this drawing. This is the stadium map of everything going on in the stadium. He goes, you know what this is? I go, no, what is that? He goes, that's your store. Like my own store? Because I thought I was just going to get a couple shelves or an area in a store. He goes, no, we're going to give you your own store. And he goes, what do you think? And like typical Brandon fashion in the what else times what's next, I say, I really like it, but it looks a little small. He literally takes out the pencil and erases it and makes the store 30% larger. So it was actually a really nice store, and it jetted into the concourse. So, I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. And I'm so grateful, the Yankees gave me this opportunity. It was just amazing working with them. I mean, they're such a great brand. And one of the reasons why they're such a great brand, and what I've learned from them, they even pushed me to be a bigger and smarter brand manager, is you have to know where your priorities are. And to me, the Yankee priority was always very clear. One, fans first. Everything that we do, what's the effect on the fans? Two, we got to put the best product on the field at all costs, no matter what it takes. We have to have a great team on the field. We have to love and make sure that everything we do takes all the fans into consideration. Now, it sounds simple, but a lot of companies, they just don't do that. I could take you through so many companies that don't do that. But if you take care of the most important asset, which is your customer, with love, empathy, value proposition, not just put out a product and say, oh, you should be lucky I'm giving you this product. Because I guarantee you one thing. If you put out a product that makes sense, it's a good product, people will buy it. But at some point, someone's going to come along, do it better, and steal that customer from you. Not. It's not how I feel. It's a fact. Like, you have to lead your company and your products with love. You need to not only put out a good product, service that product, come up with a good price, and distribute it consistently, whatever the service or product is. And then on top of that, you got to do everything and anything you can to make that customer feel good about your product, helping in the community, give them extra value, put those do special editions with those products, do something different, do something unusual. And I think I always say, like, life's a 3-lane highway, and that third lane comes from all the little things that I'm going to do for you that no one else is going to do for you. So when someone comes along and says, I've got the same product that that guy has, and I can lower the price and do that, I'm not leaving Brandon. I'm not leaving Steiner. No way. So
No,
think about it.
Brandon,
Is your customer, if another company came along and offered a similar service to yours, a similar product to yours, but maybe with a little bit of a better deal, is your customer leaving you?
never. Now,
You know,
Brandon,
we're big.
I was just wondering, do you think that relationship with the Yankees was your slingshot to then getting other co-deals with the Cubs and other major franchises?
Well, I was having no problem with getting athletes. I had a ton of athletes that would come in, and I was doing really well on that end, but no team was taking my call.
Okay.
I'm trying to do these team partnerships. I was trying to expand the business. I needed growth. We needed to get over the wall and get more people collecting. I knew if the teams got involved and the leagues got involved, it would open up the floodgates and more people collecting and respect collecting as opposed to just being a hobby. So it was a big play. And till I got the deal with the Yankees, I mean, I couldn't get anybody on the phone. It took me 6 months to get the Yankee meeting. They didn't even want to meet me. Finally, I got the meeting, and very grateful to get this meeting. And I'm sitting there, and I always tell people, like, it's not about winning and losing. Sometimes in business, the question is at some point, can you make that one big sale? And when faith comes and taps you on the shoulder, and it will, because faith is something that you believe in that you can't see. But when faith finally comes and you're working hard, you're trying, and it taps you on the shoulder, you better be ready, because it won't wait for you. It knocks on the door. If you don't answer it, it finds another door to knock on. Someone else is going to do it. So, yeah, it's tough. You're grinding, you're working your ass off, you're doing everything you can, and you're hoping for that one moment to go make that big sale. And if you're not ready and prepared, faith will find another place to stop off at.
Brandon, let me ask you a question. Before you got the Yankees and you got the big sale, I want to know about the first sale. Who was the first athlete that gave you the shot to build a relationship with? And how
I
did
mean,
you get?
the first player was really Clyde that I worked with when I was in the sports bar business, and I opened up a place called the Sporting Club, and
Frazier?
I get the Clyde Frazier, yeah, and he was like one of my idols growing up, and amazing, and that's when I really realized I can go market players and kind of how it worked. The next big name that I got that really opened up the doors is Otis Anderson. I used to be in the parking lot of Giant Stadium waiting for the players to come out. Remember, there's no internet,
This
no
is it.
cell phones. I'm waiting in the freezing cold and hoping to get some numbers. I had a little relationship with LT and a couple of Giants, Carl Banks, and I would just try to get as many of the Giant numbers. And then as I got their numbers and I'd run by deals with them, Otis was the first guy out. And I represented Otis for his MVP run when the Giants won the Super Bowl in 1991. And then the next big thing, and probably the biggest thing, believe it or not, was I had done a lot with Yogi Berra. Talked to him multiple times a week. Love Yogi. It was a childhood hero for me. Brought him back to Yoo-Hoo. Was doing anything and everything I could think of to work with him. And I had a good relationship with Mickey Mantle. And most of the time I went to Mantle with these gigs, he wouldn't do it. There wasn't enough money. He wasn't around. So I'd go to Yogi, and I'd go to Ford, and I'd go to Rizzuto. And Yogi is the one that told Phil Rizzuto, which is really one of my big breaks. He was getting into the Hall of Fame in 94. And he said to Phil, you don't have an agent. You're getting in the Hall of Fame. You're 77. You're going to need somebody to take care of this stuff for you. You should hire the kid. Yogi always called me a kid. And a lot of people were trying to sign Phil Rizzuto up for his marketing, and he picked me. So, faith came a knocking. And, a quick story, like back a couple years earlier, the bank, Mr. Gonzalez from Citibank called me up because we got a problem. And I said, I know, Phil Rizzuto just called me. One of his checks bounced, and I got to come down and see you. So I go down to the bank. I go, how can you, are you nuts? Why would you bounce Phil Rizzuto's check? He goes, well, there was you were overdrafted on two checks. I said, but why would you bounce Phil's? He goes, well, the other one was Mickey Mantle. I said, good idea. Good idea. So anyway, Phil is what he used to call giving me a red ass, yelling at me. I guess, using that. It wasn't a lot of money, but he used that money, go to the track, have some fun, and he was pissed. So I get on the phone. I say, Phil, I'm going to make this up to you. I'm going to make it up to you. And for the next 2 years, and we didn't know if Phil was getting in the Hall of Fame. Remember, he was a late guy with the executive committee letting him in.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
no
He
one
was
knew he
waiting
was
for a
getting in.
while. Yeah.
And every day I would try to find Phil work, and I found him a ton of work, and I made him some money. And one day he said to me, he goes, Stein, I got to give you credit. A lot of people would run away knowing that you screwed up. You ran towards your problem, not away from your problems. And I have a lot of respect for that. Then a year later, he gets in the Hall of Fame. I had earned that credibility through a mistake, through a screw up. So, even, I always say, don't run away from your problems, run to them. And when you screw up, own up, man up, and fix it and get it right. I can't tell you how many companies don't deal with customer service issues. They have problems. They don't do the right thing. But the better companies do. And it doesn't matter how big or small you are. It's never too late. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
Brandon, I have a question just to follow up.
Right? I'm on a roll this morning. Jeez.
You're
Got into
doing
me today.
I want to get to the nitty gritty, right? So you're outside.
I think we're in the nitty gritty, though, no?
You're at Giant Stadium. Maybe you met Clyde, right? You're waiting to get players' numbers. What was the pitch? I represent Clyde.
Well, no. Clyde was way gone after that. Otis had a little relationship with. I had a relationship with Joe Morris, who I went to school at Syracuse with. But
what was the pitch to them?
Well, the first pitch is I can get your phone number. Remember, that's your home number. So no number, no ticky, no business. So I had a relationship with LT. So as soon as LT would come out, I would go up to him and I'd make up something, anything to talk to him. Then as soon as I see some other guys coming, I go, LT, I got to run. Listen, Leonard Mark, listen, the hell with LT. Listen, I got something for you, but I need your number. They see me talking to LT. Now I got some street credibility. And I need your number, bro. Then I talk to Billy R. Then I talk to Brad Benson. And so as much as I could talk to the athletes that I knew, like I had a relationship with Sean Landetta, some of the smaller names, I would always try to engage them as long as I could. And then as soon as I saw some of the bigger name players, I'd brush those guys off and run over to them and say, the hell with those guys. By the way, I got, and in those days, the money mattered. So once I got the phone numbers, I would get on the phone all day. I'd have 3 phones and I would just dial companies up and say, I got a way to grow your business. I got a way to actually expand your customer base. I think I could use some of these athletes to help you at a trade show. I think I can help you get an athlete to come in and motivate your sales staff, or I could use this athlete to do some PR. And on Sunday, I would have every magazine and every newspaper. And while I'm watching the games, I would find any ad, anything that related to that I thought I could put an athlete in. So I thought every commercial, so crazy. I thought every commercial and every ad that I saw should have an athlete in there. Can you believe this ad? How did I have an athlete in there pushing a mattress? How did I have an athlete in there pushing the Tropicana? And then the other so I always looked for companies that I thought I would go to them with a good idea based on the idea they had, but I had a better idea. And then I surveyed thousands of athletes. I would send out these surveys. Remember, no computers, no databases, no Google. So any athlete I could, and we'd send out hundreds of surveys asking athletes their favorite food, drink, accidents, aches, pains, any diseases their parents, family had, all that stuff. I get back, wow, this player loves Tropicana orange juice, drinks a ton of it. I call the product manager Tropicana, PR person from Tropicana. I got this player. They love Tropicana. Maybe we could do a trade. Maybe you're doing something. I mean, what better to use an athlete that loves your product? So as the players were sending in this data, I would get on the phone and follow up with the different companies and say, I've got a player that loves your shoes. I got a player that loves your shirts. I got a player that loves traveling on your airline.
I would have loved to read Lawrence Taylor's survey.
It's funny, man. I didn't save the surveys, but no, that we had to create a database, which was amazing. That cost me like $500. I almost went broke to have a database where we're putting the information in. But for a long time, between the Rolodexes with all the phone numbers, because I would be outside stadiums, locker rooms, just getting numbers. You got to have the numbers. So like media, and that's how I developed this big relationship with the media. If you go Google me, the hundreds of interviews I did in the 90s was because the media would call me and ask for phone numbers or connect me with the athletes. And I had probably the widest array of athletes in the mid 90s. You can't imagine. I'm booking thousands of appearances. And I would give the media these contacts, give them ideas. I was a free spirit, so I was able to talk on the media whatever I want to talk about and explain things how sports marketing was evolving. So, and the media would actually use me in their articles and their news clips.
And Brandon, right about that time, if memory serves me correctly, didn't you open up a sports bar in Midtown?
Well, I opened up the sporting club. That's really what initiated me meeting all the players. That's what got me kind of going. But I opened up, LTs, Mantles, Ron Darlings, Dave Winfields as a consultant. After
Okay.
I did the sporting club, I opened up my business, and part of my business was to help these sports bars open up and do promotions and stuff like that.
Would you say that Mickey Mantle's was the most popular of those restaurants?
It was special. I mean, to have Mickey there, and he did come and he did hang, and I mean, Mickey was amazing. It was definitely special. But the sporting club was amazing. Sports on Broadway was cool. LT's had a good run. I mean, they all were different now. There's a TV on every bar. People call everything a sports bar, but we're opening up one on 33rd and 8th that I'm really 31st and 8th, right across the street from the Garden that I own a piece of. That I'm really excited about that we're opening up in February. I haven't been in the sports bar business in a while, so I'm making an investment. I'm going to consult and help them
I'll definitely
do
go
some
there.
cool stuff. Yeah.
We're taking our son to his first Ranger game in March, so I'll definitely
Wow.
stop by. What's the name of the bar?
It's going to be called Scores. Scores.
Okay.
Yeah.
No relation
It's
to it.
no.
No relation to the other scores.
Just
Great.
the name is a score. Yeah, but it gets
Awesome.
people's attention. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm gonna be, I do an eBay live show on my platform, and I'm gonna be doing a show on the Yes app and MSG app called "You Gotta Have Balls," and we'll be doing the show out of there, and we're gonna do the show at Hard Rock near the stadium. So the show right now is currently, if you go on my platform, you'll see the show. It's great. We sell some products, interview players. So it's kind of been my goal is I wanted to have this all inclusive sports shopping player driven channel, like almost like a home shopping for players and collectibles and licensed products. So I'm working on it. I don't know if it's going to work.
I'm curious, Brandon.
That model is really big overseas, and it's not here. That QVC model on Instagram or TikTok right now. I think Gary Vaynerchuk was just talking about it again, but I heard about this like 5 years ago, and I think it's predicted to actually grow a lot bigger in the next 5 to 10 years.
I have a lot of people that watch my channel. I mean, it's a popular channel. Athletes zoom in, they come in. I think I have the name and the credibility on the product end and all the different, to try to bring this together. I'm about 8 months into it. I'll have a better indication, I hope, by the summer if this thing's gonna be as big as what I think it could be.
So, Brandon, you've got the nostalgia play for the boomer. Talk us through what the young person today is looking for. Is he still collecting baseball cards? Is a little bit more virtual? Like what's popular among the young kids today?
I mean, believe it or not, the baby boomers, they got their kids involved with the collecting. So it was a fun thing that they're able to do with their kids. So the kids are into the collecting. There's no question. They're a little more picky about it. They want more proprietary stuff, more unusual stuff. They're crazy on the cards. I feel bad because there's a lot of scheming and scamming going on with the cards. And a lot of kids are getting into the cards, don't know what they're doing. And they're buying these cards because these people online, these breakers, are scheming and scamming them. And one of one is special. You're never going to see a card like this again. Yeah, you're not going to see it again. But it's not worth anything. Of course, you're not going to see it again. So there's a lot of bad cards out there, a lot of overvalued cards, a lot of cards that kids have spent a lot of money on. And I'm nervous because the business really opened up and now it's shrinking, and it's now getting into a little bit of a very uncomfortable state when people have spent X amount of money. Now those cards are not worth as much. So we'll see how this plays out. It's so hard to build a market with young kids. Any marketer will tell you. And the fact that these kids came running into this card industry during COVID is an incredible blessing for our industry. And the card industry, between the grading of the cards being so expensive and a little bit of the confusion that gets created with what these cards are really worth, all the different things that a card company and people can do to make you think that you should chase after a card even though there's no shot of you getting it. will be a setback for our industry that is unfortunate because you get a 10-year-old kid now into the industry you're in, you're going to get them for 50 years. I mean, think about it. You got a 10, you think about what you collected as a kid, you're not just stopping. So to get kids involved with collecting cards and collectibles is a blessing. I have always focused on the young kid. I've always tried to have an 11-year-old mindset because I figure if I can get an 11-year-old kid to get one collectible in their hand, I may have them for a customer for 50 years. And I've been that mindset for 30 years. So when kids that walked in my office, when I see a kid at a stadium at a game, I immediately give him and his dad my card, tell me if his grades go up, and I send him a box of stuff. And I'm not talking about bootleg stuff. I'm constantly just building up my customer base with young kids. But when I see the thing that's happening with the trading card business, even Topps mainly and Panini, where I don't know, there's this they're overprinting, they're putting out so many cards, and really they're not being straightforward, and the cards are not regulated. I feel bad that some people are going to be stuck without a chair when the music stops and have lost a decent amount of money. And I feel bad about that because nobody should go into a hobby and have to lose a bunch of money when you're just collecting. It should be for fun and maybe hoping some stuff goes up.
But is it really just a hobby anymore? Your card's trading at millions of dollars.
It's a business, yeah. This hobby, and I like to think I had something to do with it, with the
You definitely did.
projects and the products and the connection with athletes and to making this hobby into a business and giving it some kind of order is probably, I hope, something that I was able to do for the industry. I think any industry you go into should be first and foremost, how am I going to make this industry better than when I found it? You go work for a company, it should be, how am I making this company better than when I found it? And when you leave, people should cry. The blessing is that when I got kind of thrown out of my own company at Steiner, and somewhat of a hostile takeover with Fanatics, hundreds of emails from customers, like hundreds, and it was really the thing that injected it was everything I needed to. So I was thinking about retiring, and it was that energy and that love that came back to me, which I realized the most important thing is your customer. And the love that came back to me was like, Brandon, don't leave, man. We're still with you. Whatever you do, we're going to follow you. I mean, I've never sent an email to a CEO that I spent a lot of money with saying I was sorry he was leaving. Just never.
Can we break that down for a second and talk about that if you're okay with it? So you started the company yourself, right? Somebody came to you, private equity injection. Fanatics takes a part of the company. A lot of our audience is going through that right now. They're getting offers from private equity companies, guys that have more capital that think they believe they can help them grow to the next level, but sometimes it doesn't work out as planned. Can you give us a little insight onto that or your
Well, first of all, I sold my company in 2000. So
Okay.
I'd made a very significant amount of money and continued to do so. When I was about to buy it back, the company that I had sold it to, which I thought was going to sell me back the company, ended up selling it to Fanatics. And it was a hostile situation because never in my wildest imagination did I think that was going to happen. So, well, my message to the people that are out there that are thinking of selling their company, first of all, it never ends well. I read a lot of books before I sold my company. I was fortunate to have 18 years with the company that bought me. It was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. You're still owned by basically a bank to some degree, and they just want to return. And it's hard to find a partner that's really, really interested. But the only decision to sell your company should be based on two things. One, you're just getting a boatload of money. And then maybe you have a plan B, what are you going to do with that money? Because more than likely, they're going to move your ass out and they're going to bring somebody else in that can run it better than you. At least that's what the numbers say. Or you're going to do it if you're going to sell your company to a company that's going to help you build and grow the dream that you have. And they're going to make that investment. And that investment they're going to make is very, very specifically outlined in your contract for you to stay on board for the length of time you want to. And they're going to give you the assets and the financial support, whether it be inventory, hiring more people, real estate, whatever it is. And for me, when Steiner started rolling, I needed either I was going to have to do a deal with a bank, or I was going to have to go find a partner to give me the infrastructure, the money to go build out what ended up being Steiner, and it did take quite a bit of money to do so, and it was pretty epic. So I turned down a lot more money from some other companies to go with this company because I thought they would be a better partner for me. So realize that nothing ends well with these deals, by the way, rarely. So if you're going to sell your company, realize that it's probably not going to end well, and realize that you don't have control of your company anymore, no matter what they tell you.
Brandon, just in case your wife wakes up in a bad mood tomorrow and she says, Brandon, I've had enough of all this stuff. Pack it all up, put it in storage. You can keep one piece of memorabilia.
Well, you're late with that question. And a lot of the people out there that are my age understand that, our wives, when we get to into our 60s, they start getting into this cleanup mode. And I tell people all the time, like, we're all going to die. Okay, we're all going to die. I'm sorry to break the news to you. And when you get to your 60s, you start preparing a little more for it. And we had that conversation. And that's how I built Collectible Exchange. Is my wife was like, "What are you going to do with all this stuff?" And I was like, "Wow, you're right." And I didn't even know even half the stuff I had, which is what most people. So I'm done with that question. And I purposely sold everything. When you go to Collectible Exchange, my collection's still, some of it's here. But I purposely sold a lot of the favorite things that I had, other than one item. You're right. There's a stick that Mark Messier gave me one day. He came up to my office after he had scored his 611th goal. And he just surprised me. He just came up to the office. He goes, "Brandon, I'm on the run. I just got to stop by. But, I scored 611 last night. I wanted you to have the stick." And I thought
That's special.
I just think the fact that the guy, this is not a small name guy. And, the fact that he took the time and literally didn't need anything, want anything, just dropped the stick up. It was all taped up. And it was like, I'm like, yeah, I gotta hold on to that stick.
Let me just dig a little deeper there, because one thing about Mark Messier that all small business owners can associate with, he's known as the captain. He has certain managerial charisma. What is it about him that makes him authority, whether it's in the boardroom or on the ice?
First of all, he's an incredible learner. He's constantly looking, learning, and he has incredible empathy. He has the ability to be incredibly intense and want to win at all costs. But at the same time, his empathy is to put himself in other people's shoes. And I feel like he can look at his teammates. Even when he was playing, he would come up, "Brandon, I need a pair of boxing gloves. I want this guy on my team to be tougher. I'm going to give him a pair of these Muhammad Ali gloves to say, I want you to get tougher." Like, he was just always thinking about his teammates and how he can make them better and what he could do for them. A rookie comes up, he's got the suit in the guy's locker. He just true leaders realize that it's not about you, it's about how you can enhance and help others. And it's hard to do because most people spend most of their day thinking about themselves and what you need to do for you. But great leaders are thinking about everything but themselves. And I always say, if you want to fill yourself, forget yourself. Be a solution-based business person. And being a solution-based business person means you go out every day and hunt for problems and try to solve them. Because when you do that for your employees or your teammates, who's getting rid of you?
Brandon, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell everybody where to go for the Collectibles Exchange, how to find you on the socials?
Well, first of all, follow me on LinkedIn. I put a lot of interviews and contacts, or like me on Facebook, because that's where the show is. Or if you want to go to the eBay store, that's always a good idea too. Or, we have, by the way, I have 4 times the amount of items on my website than I ever had at Steiner. Wow. How crazy is that? And that doesn't even include the 1 million trading cards I have on Star Stock, which is our sister site for trading cards. If you want to give us your trading cards, we put them in our vault. Like, I would never think I would ever have more items than Steiner on another website, because we think we had everything at Steiner. But to answer your question, BrandonSteiner.com for booking me to speak. And, you can always go to CollectibleExchange.com if you're actually looking for a Christmas gift. I'll try to, at some point, I got to send you an email with the friends and family discount that's going on between now and Thanksgiving. So it's a pretty good deal. Getting 15% off.
We'll drop it on the show notes for everybody. Brandon, thank you so much. I love the story. You're a legend coming from New York. I'm in Florida now. They don't make good bagels down here. I'll tell you that. Where I am.
But they could.
They could. I just don't know what. No. I have one question for you before I let you run. Okay. So memorabilia is a hobby. I'm sure it's been a hobby of yours, but it's also been a business, right? What's another hobby you have? Something nobody would think
Well, I know. First of all, I have two other hobbies. My wife is all over me about getting some more hobbies besides making money. I'm good at making money because I've been doing it since I'm 10. And I know a lot of other entrepreneurs, you get good at making money, you suck at everything else. One, I'm a coach. I coach a bunch of kids that I don't charge, and I help them grow their businesses. And then I help two or three other companies that I help people like get through their juggernauts, and that's a big hobby. And the second hobby is all charity driven. So everything I do at this point, business wise, all my books, everything, speaking, goes to charities. And what I do is I'm not going to go to a food bank and hand out food. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to go to school and read. Like my wife does that multiple times a week, but I will go get my wife pallets of food for the food bank she works at. And that's kind of more of my hobby is to do that. And I've also been traveling a lot. So I've made that a hobby is, go see the world with my wife.
Where have you been last? Where's the last place you went?
Oh boy, I was just in Hawaii and Palm Springs. I was 2 weeks before that, Italy. That's just September. I was in Puerto Rico and I was in Australia in February, Switzerland last November.
Matt, I could see this guy going to Italy and working out a deal with AC Milan.
Oh, there's no question. I make more money when I'm on the road. Oh, it's crazy. You gotta read the You Gotta Have Balls book, and you really see the what's next, because every day, everywhere you go, the world's a classroom, everyone's a teacher, and there's just opportunity everywhere. But what your mental map is, how much you want to widen your reach from a growth standpoint of people you can meet, companies you can work with and collaborate with, is up to you.
Brandon, thank you so much. Everybody, we're going to end on that. It's a wrap on Liquid Lunch Project. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.